Okay, we'll get going here with first of all an adoption of the agenda. I'm assuming everybody received it. Any additions or changes to that agenda? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to accept the agenda as presented? Kevin, seconder. Ken, great, thanks a lot. And we've got two sets of minutes to look at this evening. The first set from November 23rd. I just wanted to note one change on there. Hector Alcala is actually noted as being a member at large on our attendance list. He's actually an AIBC appointment, so just that needs to be changed. Is there any other corrections anybody would like to make to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as amended with that one change? A motion from somebody? Kevin again, seconder. I'm not seeing all the little. Do I have a seconder? Maybe I'm missing. Okay, so many heads here. Jonathan, thank you. Okay, and then we also have the minutes for Thursday, December 14th, 2023. Any additions, changes, or anything to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to accept those minutes as presented? And Ken motions, seconder. Kevin, great, thank you very much. That's the minutes. And this evening we've got two presentations. The first one is for property on Island Highway North, and Peyton Carter, city planner, will introduce the project. Go ahead, Peyton.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, everybody. Development permit application DP 1324 is to establish an automated car wash building. The subject property is northwest of the intersection of Norwell Drive and Island Highway North, and it is currently undeveloped. It is zoned CC3, City Commercial Center, and is designated as secondary urban center in city plan. The subject property falls within Development Permit Area 4 and Development Permit Area 8. There are two variances here, one requested to allow a canopy projection into the flanking side yard setback, and another to reduce the landscape buffer along that same flanking side yard. The general development permit area guidelines apply for this development, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good. And who's presenting this evening?
Madam Chair, I'm presenting. I'm Helen Besharat, project architect with BFA Studio.
Okay, is there any way you can maybe bump up your volume a little bit there? Sure. And you may also go ahead and share your screen anytime you're ready.
Sure. Okay, it's adjusted. Is it better, Madam Chair?
Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit garbled. I think because you're probably a little distance from their mic.
Okay, is it better now?
That's a bit better, yeah. Speak up, maybe.
Great, I will. Thank you. Could you share the screen, please? I'm going to start by introduction of our team. Chatan Manchatta is the development manager with Zen Group. Christiane Dufer is the landscape architect. She will be going through the landscaping concept. Jacob Pez is the civil engineer and site traffic management. Together with mechanical electrical consultants from BES, Ruben and David, and Nadine King and Christine Machin are with Watt Consulting transportation engineers. Other than Christine and I, who are the presenters, other engineers and team members are here to answer any questions that the panel may have. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Peyton, for your introduction. The site is located at intersection of Island Highway and Norwell Drive, a visible site. You can see it now three-dimensionally. Right to the north is the large mall, and to the east and west, the site is surrounded by dominantly industrial buildings. This is from above, and this is the 3D. You can see the site, which is empty. And there used to be a gas station on this site many years ago that's demolished. And you can see the existing industrial buildings to the south. As Peyton mentioned, the project is under development permit areas, area 4 and 8. It's zone CC3, and the future land use is secondary urban center. You can see the site location indicated on these 4 images. Back to urban context, and again, most of the surrounding buildings are industrial, except for the north, and to the south mostly are car dealerships, and most of the time single story with a high ceiling or double story, 2-story high. The precedents and inspirations are actually from our industrial portfolio. We have been involved with industrial projects for the last 25 years, and the inspiration we have designed and learned from car wash projects, both urban and suburban and everything in between, try to learn and improve. The site is 1,444 square feet. The proposal is 2-story building. The density is 362 square meters, 0.25. Allowed site coverage is 50%, but proposed site coverage is below allowed, 28%. And the use is industrial F3 occupancy based on BC Building Code. With respect to the immediate west is Dairy Queen that shares 2 access points with the proposal. The vehicular access is from northeast of Norwell Drive. You can see the green arrows, 2-way accessing the site. From Island Highway is right in, right out. Again, the green arrows. Orange indicates the circulation of cars inside the site, which is cars will arrive at this point. There is 2 lanes. They arrive, they go through the pay station. After the pay station, the 2-lane merges to a single lane. The cars carry on, go through the tunnel, exit, and go up or down to get back to public roads. On the east side, you can see that there are underground tanks required for the car wash and the recycling tanks covered with permeable material. Once every month or every 2 months, there would be vehicles getting to this area to maintain, empty, or service the underground tanks below permeable pavers. Once every 4 to 6 months, according to the owner who operates other car washes. Once in a while, when the cars get to this point, there is technical issues. So as a result, there will be a gate or bollards where cars can be conducted to get out as an emergency exit. The red line indicates the property line. The site is subject on the east side to a road dedication, and on the west side there is an easement. The pedestrian access we have shown in our submission the firefighters' access, and the pedestrian access is in this location. There could be also other access points. We are providing a tandem parking in this location. But because this area with permeable paving is usually empty, there is also a possibility for staff to park in this area. We are proposing two variances. The first one is limited to the red triangle that you see in this area. The reason for that is we wanted to keep the continuity of the weather protection canopy at the entry to the car wash tunnel. The second one, there is a requirement to provide about 5 foot 6 feet of landscaping buffer. We have, rather than landscaping this area, we are providing a lot more landscape space on MOT site that's approved by Ministry of Transportation. So you can see that we are providing almost 3 times more landscaping area because we needed to keep this area open for maneuvering and ease of entry to the tunnel. We feel that because of this corner MOT site, the proposed 2 variances will have a positive impact on the proposal. Here we are showing the building 3-dimensionally in urban context. If you compare the building, you will see that it's an important site because it's at an intersection demanding special attention at public realm. You can see that relative to other buildings around, it's a small volume. It's a small building. This image, north is at the top, shows the main floor. On the east side, the full facade of the car wash is glazed to animate the street and show the movement and bring interest to public realm. On the south side, the kiosk is glazed on 3 sides. The kiosk will need to observe and troubleshoot cars at the pay stations to the left that's sheltered, and also sometimes help out with entering the tunnel. As a result, it's glazed. The upper floor, part of the upper floor is built and limited to mechanical room, service rooms. The roof has a butterfly shape, and this image is indicating the section through the building, elevations. This is at public realm facing Norwell Drive, and you can see that the entire facade is glazed. What you see behind is further back, which is the facade of the upper mechanical space. The flared roof also helps out to reduce the appearance of the utilitarian area that's not exposed to public realm, and it's used for background for signage. The image below is the west facade facing Dairy Queen and the internal easements. This is the south facade. Sorry, this is the north facade. And to the right, you can see the kiosk glazing, the overhead door that's glazed, partially glazed, and also the pay stations. The material palette is basically 3 tones of corrugated metal to be consistent with the industrial vocabulary of the proposal. The glazing on the car wash tunnel is held by a spider clamp in stainless steel, and this is the vertical structural elements needed to secure the spike. There is a red accent throughout the building. With respect to the form and character, we went and rendered closer look of the building. The public realm was very important to us, which is expressed by full glazing at public ground and partial glazing. We have been mindful of orientation. This is east, so we have the morning sun. On the south side, we are providing quite a bit of shading. And where public needs as assistance is also weather protected. And I went through the materiality, and we have also designed a custom wave with a custom light that's going to be lit at night. And it's kind of it's a wave. This is an image of the internal courtyard, internal easement, and it's the northwest view of the project. And you can see that we have played with the butterfly roof, and we brought down and continued the roof to bring the pay station and the car wash together. This image is an indication of the light fixture that we have designed, custom designed in Vancouver. We tested it, we went to the lab. This is the way. We have to make sure that it takes water, it can handle expansion, and also you can see in this corner that the LED light is located in here, which is at the top corner. It's red and it's painted aluminum. The building has a number of sustainability aspects. The most important one is the use of recycled water rather than wasting untreated water at individual homes or businesses. The water gets recycled and reused. The car wash building employs state-of-the-art car wash technology and significantly reduces the amount of water used and the levels of contaminants produced, ultimately increasing the environmental sustainability of the project. Hand washing, it takes 150 gallons. The use of the water in this building is a lot less. Most of the water used in the car wash is reclaimed water, with only fresh water used during the last rinse to avoid any drying spots. And the other aspects are environmental aspect of the project is the car wash facility oil separators are installed to separate the oil, grease, and other contaminants which are washed off the vehicle before they enter the sewer system. I'm not going to go through the details of mechanical and electrical sustainability. They are actually mainstream. The biggest items are the separating the oils and also the use of water that are the highlights of sustainability. BS, our mechanical and electrical engineer, they have prepared detailed information on every room, and they are present if you like. If you have any answers, they will be here to answer your questions. LED lighting fixtures is used. Occupancy sensors where permitted are used, and the infrastructure for the EV charging stations will be installed in both parking stalls. This is a stormwater management drawing prepared by Jacob Pence or Appleton Martin. The magenta color is landscaping with approximately 450 millimeter of soil. Dark blue is a permeable paving. There is also some stormwater underground tanks in this area, and the little amount of orange is gravel. With this, I'm going to ask our landscape architect, Christine Defer, to carry on with landscape presentation.
Thank you, Helen. I'll just ask you when I need to go to the next slide. There's only 2, so it should be pretty easy. The landscape design, it's pretty straightforward. I think Helen did a really good job of saying all the sustainability initiatives that we're trying to achieve. So with the landscape, we just want to maximize the permeable area on the site while also providing a strong green buffer between the street and what is visible to shield the appearance of the cars while still allowing the building to be highlighted. So in this plan, you can see that large buffer that we have between the drive aisle and then the offsite area, as well as that area that's offsite that we're hoping to plant with the variants and the sections next to see how wide those planted areas are. The hatch space on site, again, as Helen mentioned, it will be permeable paving, so just trying to bring in more porous spaces for stormwater throughout the whole site. And then areas that are not feasible to plant, whether they're too skinny or undercover, we'll be doing a permeable gravel so that it's not just a solid hard surface. I think we can go to the next sheet now. And then the planting, we want it to be all lush, native adapted plants, as low maintenance as possible while giving a lot of variety and visual interest. That includes year-round interest and making sure we have a good mix in there of evergreen species so that there's always a little bit of a visual screening between the street and the cars that'll be coming around the internal drive aisle.
Thank you, Kristen. Madam Chair, I introduced everyone, but I forgot to introduce our team. So our team, David Leong is principal with BFA Studio Architects, my partner, and Mahfouz Manan is also part of the team member, and I'm Helen Besharat, project architect. We are happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Okay, so maybe you can just stop sharing your screen and then I can see everybody's faces here. That'd be great, thanks. Before we get going, do any panel members have any questions of staff regarding this property? Okay, I don't see any. And okay, so maybe we'll start with that. We've seen this project before, actually. A previous project was proposed for this property. So Kevin, I think you were probably part of that panel. So maybe I'll let you start off here, see what your thoughts are on this.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, the applicant, for the presentation. A very nice presentation. Yeah, we definitely saw a previous application a few years ago for this project. I really liked the previous project. It was very modern, very futuristic, the form and character. But I think I like this project even more than that one. Curious. There's a second floor, Helen. That's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, and is it going to be just used for storage or office or what?
Just for, I know where you are coming from. The previous application had a residential unit up there. We didn't think it's appropriate to have a residential unit with a car wash and noise and everything else. That's completely eliminated. The upper floor is limited to service areas and what's needed by gravity to come to serve the car wash.
Okay, that's good. So far, like with the variances, I have no issues with the 2 variances. I support your concerns with that, and so I have no issues with that. I think that the way you cited the building works very well. The only thing is, I'm not sure if this is for you, Helen, or for Kristen. The plants that you're putting in along the highway and on the corner, when you plant them, are they going to be at a height that will screen the headlights from vehicles shining into the corner, the intersection?
Well, when they're initially planted, no, they'll be little baby plants, but the intent is for them to grow to do that and provide and shield for the headlights. But no, when they go in, they will not be screening anything.
Yeah, because that corner is one of the, for accidents, is a very bad corner, and you have 2 lanes turning north on the Island Highway off of Bowen Road, and they have to turn on that corner, and the concern would be them being blinded by especially trucks that have their headlights quite a bit higher. And if that's going to be a concern, are the plants going to be able to grow quickly? Maybe that's a question that Jonathan might know as well. But and are they going to be irrigated through an irrigation system as well, which isn't on your property? So can you answer that?
Well, so we are providing irrigation for on site if the area of planting that is off site is to be irrigated, and if the request is that that is by us, then we will include that on the drawings. As far as how fast they'll go, I mean, you need a year or two for plants to establish, and at least 2 for them to approach some more mature sizing. So it would be a while before they were screened. One way that I think we might be able to mitigate that right away is if maybe we bermed the planting areas a little bit just to get that area up. But then that would involve grading on city property, and I don't know how that would work at this point. I think the area along the East PL, we could look at berming that, but that corner intersection would be a different conversation.
Yeah, because that would probably be my only real concern with the project is that corner. I used to work a block away, a block and a half away from there, so I always drove home that way, and it could be a problem. I'm not sure if the plants, again, Jonathan might know better, will know better about that, whether or not they're going to be able to grow quickly and large enough that they're going to be at least hopefully about 3 feet high, if not higher. So that would probably be my only area of concern. So if you can address that aspect, that's my only real concern. I love the form and character of the building. I love the transparency of it. I like that the wave light. Everything works really well. The garbage, Helen, the garbage and recycling. You did not provide any details for the enclosure. Can you just maybe briefly describe how the enclosure is going to be constructed and the materials?
Yes, thank you for the question. We like designer garbage and recycling enclosure. It's going to be cladded with the same corrugated metal that's used for the building. Actually, we do have a design, but it's not on the drawing. So I like to assure you that we are going to take care to make sure that it's well designed. Also, we are planning to try to make it as small as possible. Our team actually contacted City of Nanaimo to see if there is any size requirements. We haven't heard back yet, but we will try to make it as small as possible because the waste management for a car wash is not very demanding. It's not like a retail or an office space or even a residential building. So we will try to squeeze it as much as possible. Chatham actually a couple of days ago confirmed that they don't need as many bins. We just sized this without any guidance or with very little guidance. And we like not only detail it properly with the same material as the building with corrugated metal, make sure that the bins are not going to be visible, but also try to make it as small as possible.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad you're using materials that complement the building. More often than not, we see concrete block structures and chain link fence gates on them and stuff. So, and I appreciate that because that is on a major driving in area of the site, not only to your site but the Dairy Queen as well. So if you do that, that's obviously going to work very well. So aside from the screening of the landscaping to screen the headlights from the vehicles, I have no other questions or concerns. So well done, and thanks for the presentation.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Considering your comments about the screening of the headlights and has to do with landscaping, maybe we'll let Jonathan go next and he can comment on the landscaping.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation.
Yeah, so for the landscaping, I'm okay with the design.
I think it looks pretty good. The species look appropriate. There's the row of shrubs that are labeled on the planting plan as large shrubs to block headlights look like a good choice for that function. But yeah, I guess those shrubs don't continue into the like the Ministry of Transportation, the off-site planting. So I don't know if maybe there were some height restrictions on the planting in that area just for intersection sight lines that might prevent having larger plants there, I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess if we want to make a recommendation around that, I guess the designers could just take another look at headlight heights and what that would look like with when cars are driving through there from the intersection. So maybe it's fine the way it is. I guess the recommendation would just be for the designers to take another look at that. I think it's doable with plants if there's concerns about it taking a couple of years before the plants grow high enough for screening to be adequate. I guess there's other options for like a low fence or something, but I'll let the designers figure that out. I guess my only suggestion for the planting would be maybe adding a couple more trees along Norwell Drive, just because there's only 2 trees proposed on site, and the development across the street on Norwell has a row of trees, so I think it would be okay to do a row of trees, just a couple more trees there. That's my recommendation. The bike parking, I guess it's considered short term just because it's outdoor, but it is undercover, and I think it was a good choice of bike rack design to accommodate different types of bikes. That inverted U-shape is a good choice. So, and with its location very visible from the kiosk, it looks like a pretty secure location for like employees to use for longer term bike parking. So I imagine there's not much need for short term bike parking at car wash, so probably would be mainly used potentially by an employee. So I think it, as designed, it would function well for employee bike parking. I'm supportive of the variance. The variances, I think the designer did a good job justifying the landscape buffer variance by coordinating with Ministry of Transportation for planting there. So I think that's well done. I think there was a staff comment about maybe some more seating for near the building entrances. So I think that's something to consider for like employees taking a break or something, having an outdoor spot to sit. So that could be a recommendation too. That's everything from me. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jonathan. Nathan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Helen and Kristen. It's a great industrial project, and I think it really embraces the functional aspect of, well, industrialness, but you've kind of managed to keep the public realm as a priority in this one, which as an industrial project in the public realm works very well. I think the program that you have is quite dynamic, and that there's always action going on. It's something that you'd want to look at and watch as you walk by. I think your choice of materials and the transparency that you've chosen really works extremely well. And so my comments were really sort of to raise the elevation of the project, and because it's a great project, and it's just more of comments about sophistication maybe and subtleties. Given that you've got such a great program and system around it, in addition to the sustainable aspects of the water filtration and all these things, I think that's a really intriguing aspect of the project that I'm not seeing expressed, and I think it could be expressed more. And this is just to say, give it some consideration. I mean, you've got this I can imagine, as you described, this mechanical system that's filtering water and gravity feeding it down from the top. Helen, as you mentioned, I mean that's like Pompidou Paris stuff, right? This is an exciting program, this exciting tectonic stuff, and the more you can start thinking about expressing that and showing that off, anywhere from the, you got rainwater, you got so many things that are going on at this site that are tectonically based. I think it could use some more, and perhaps as you get into the systems more, maybe that is something you can add and layer into the system, into the design a little bit more. One subtle comment I find compositionally with it is your diagonal brackets, particularly the one on the north side, and maybe you might want to comment on it. I see some symmetry there. On the north side, the bracket seems to be less gesturing and toward the end of the roof, and it just seems, I don't know. I'm not sure what the solution is, whether they even need to be there, or the south side has a nice gesture to the roof. It characterizes the extension, and the north side is just a facade element that seems clunky on the end, and it's a sort of a very subtle comment, and I trust your compositional skills, Helen, to think about it, and how you deal with it. It's up to you. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nathan. And Ken, would you like to add your comments? You have to turn your mic on.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I think, first of all, I have no problem with the variances with the roof. I'm assuming that in this case, the people just drive through and get a car wash. They don't get out of the car and the car doesn't go through and they wait for that. But that's my assumption. They just sit in the car and you have all that brushes and spray and that. And I think that, your transparency may display some of the mechanical features of the car wash through the transparency that you put on the south facade, so that one can see a car getting washed, and that the things that Nathan expressed about exposing and developing the mechanical systems to expose it, you probably do see it. So I have, I think what you did with what you've with the program and with the features of the automatic car wash and the whole site development and how the cars move through, I think you've done an excellent job, and I really support this project, and that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Ken. And Hillary?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and appreciate all the comments I've heard from the panel so far, which I think are on point. And I read this with great interest about, with the water capturing and that sustainable technology, I think is fantastic. So thank you for that, because I think our eyes all go out when we see a car wash, but the fact that a lot of the water is recaptured is really cool. I think it's a nice looking building. I support the variances, and glad we talked about some of the landscaping on that corner and the visual sight lines for drivers turning that corner, because I definitely don't want there to be anything that obstructs the view. But other than that, no notes. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks to the panel for all their comments. And I really don't have much to add. I just like to say you've designed a very striking building. I think in terms of form and character, it fits very well with the neighborhood, with all the car dealerships sort of kitty corner across the street from it. There's a kind of, highway, next to the highway, speed cars, contemporary look. And I think you kind of capture that in the building design itself as well. And being a corner site, I think it's certainly a much more pleasant view or exciting view with that building, say, compared to a gas station or something like that. So, I mean, it has a very functional purpose, but you've also spent some time thinking about its appearance on that corner, and I really appreciate that. So I commend you on that. And along with the rest of the panel, I'm concerned, though, about the headlights again. So I think we need to sort of think about what we can do with that. And oh, okay. I hear is Peyton. I'm hearing that Hector is here now, but I'm not sure where he is. Peyton. Oh, he's just coming in. Okay. Hector, did you want to comment on this project? Did you see the presentation, or do you want to just wait till the next one?
No, I saw the presentation. Thanks, Madam Chair. No, I just support the comments from the panel, so I don't have anything else to add. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, what we need to do now is just sum up our recommendations, and I'm hearing, of course, from I've reiterated, and everybody else here is the concern about the headlights. So probably the one recommendation would be that you need to consider some ways to shield that corner from the headlights of the vehicles that are going through your car wash, whether that's with shrubs or some other type of landscaping feature. So again, it's something that needs to be given some thought. I'm not sure, Jonathan, if you wanted to add the trees to Norwell Drive. I'm a little concerned about adding trees because I think it takes a little away from your design, the design that they're trying to show with the wave design. I'm not sure how other people on the panel feel about that. And also, I'm not sure, Nathan, if you want to, your very good comments on the sort of aesthetics of incorporating some way of emphasizing the environmental systems. Did you want to make that a recommendation, or is that just a comment for them to consider?
I think it's a consideration. I mean, it's a great project, and they're good architects and good landscape designers, and they can pick and choose and just consider it. Yeah. Okay,
great. Okay. So do we want to add, then that would be, I'm seeing at least two recommendations then. The trees along Norwell. Does anybody else have would like to support that one, or? Jonathan?
I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be Norwell, but I just think maybe there's room for more than just 2 trees on the site, so just consider adding more trees to the landscape. Maybe just broaden the recommendation a little bit.
So adding more trees to the site.
Yeah.
We put that instead. Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely approve that too. Anytime we could add more trees to a project, it definitely helps. So
right, and the seating near the building entrance, consider more seating. We want to make that a recommendation.
Yeah, I think so. It's good to provide some employee amenity space.
Staff has pointed that out as well. So what I'm seeing then is 3 recommendations. So consider ways to shielding the headlights with shrubs or other landscape features along Terminal Avenue. Add a few more trees to the site landscaping plan, and consider adding another seating options at the building entrance, and then with support for the variance. So if I can get a motion to accept this proposal as presented with those 3 recommendations plus support for the variance. And Jonathan, I think you had your hand up to do that, right? Or did you want to say something? You're making the motion. Okay. And seconder, Kevin, all in favor? Okay, great. So thank you to the applicants for your presentation this evening, and that's great. Good luck with the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really appreciate all the comments. They were constructive. We will take it to heart, and I'm sure there won't be any issues to address your comments.
Great.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, panel members.
Okay. Good. Okay, so we have a second presentation this evening, and this one here is for property on Island Diesel Way, and Peyton Carter, our planner, will again introduce that project. So go ahead, Peyton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Development permit application DP 1326 is to develop an industrial complex with 6 units over 2 separate buildings. The subject properties, there are 2, are located west of Boxwood Road at the intersection of Island Diesel Way and Bollinger Road. The lots are currently undeveloped and are both zoned I3, high-tech industrial, and are designated as light industrial in city plan. These subject properties fall within Development Permit Area 8. There is a variance requested to reduce the landscape buffer along a portion of the southernmost property line between the proposed Building B and the existing buildings at 1950 and 1960 Boxwood Road. The General Development Permit Area guidelines apply also to this development, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. Okay, and who's presenting this evening?
I'm going to start, Madam Chair.
Okay, you're welcome.
It's Alvin Fritz. Am I allowed to share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Peyton. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So my name is Jared Coster. I'm with Herald Engineering, and we're the applicants for the project. Our first presenter tonight will be the owner representative, David Lopatka, and he will comment on the current Nanaimo market conditions. Al Fritz, the project architect, will present the project and design. And then Kara McDonald, our landscape architect with McDonald Gray Consultants, will present the landscape plan. And Scott Jensen, our civil engineer with Herald Engineering, will present the civil site plan. We do have a short video at the end that we will try. We're not quite sure if it's going to run smoothly over Zoom, so if it doesn't work out, we will end it there. So with that, I'll hand the mic over to David.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about the project. Thank you for your time today. We thought it would be just an important to provide some context and how we got where we are today for this kind of design. We kind of looked into gaps in the industrial market. Kind of most of the newer stock in Nanaimo that's for lease is small bay, which is characterized by under 5,000 square feet, and generally it's grade loading. You can see that the city of Nanaimo actually has extremely low vacancies, healthy static vacancies, anywhere from 3 to 5%. And I think Nanaimo is the lowest, one of the lowest in the country. And when you couple this with the limited ability of land and kind of it makes this a very difficult market to bring the supply. And so when we kind of looked at the market, we saw that, and we also saw that if you are a larger tenant needing, say, more than 5,000 square feet, we kind of put at the bottom of the page kind of the options that you had. So at the very bottom, those are 2 current listings, and you can see a 10-foot clear and a 13-foot clear, no dock loading. So that means you can't bring 53 footers. And you can kind of see that if you have like a large international tenant, that's not very optimal for what they need. So, sorry? Oh, sorry, I thought someone said something. And then the problem is further amplified by if you need dock loading, there's only one option, and that's 4,000 square feet. So we kind of, we've done this before in other markets. We are aiming at mid-bay with the option of larger tenants able to come into a new modern building. And so most of our experience is that tenants from out of town will come in, and it allows them to grow and bring jobs into the market. So it's modern, it's 20-foot foot clear height with 10 dock doors and 6 grade doors. So the minimum tenant size is 9,000 square feet. So you can see that there's only one building on the far left, but that really wouldn't appeal to too many industrial users. If there's no questions, I will pass it off to Alvin Fritz.
Yeah, just go ahead and finish your presentation and we'll do questions after.
I think, Al, you're muted still.
Yeah, I don't think I have control of it. Am I on now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're on now.
Oh, okay. I wasn't in control of that. thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the board, and great start there, Jared and David. So our legal description, it'll be on the slide, so won't take much time to go through that. Probably the municipal address is more important, 1950 and 1960 Island Diesel Way. And just to orient you, north is to the top of this page. You can see the address there at the green arrow, and then we've zoomed in a little bit just to give you clear indication of the location of the site. And just note that we've taken a new vantage point. North has drifted to the bottom just for clarity. So the previous slide had north to the top, this one to the bottom, just to give orientation and let you see it. Now I've taken an aerial animation, or an aerial, rendering, and just provided an outline to it that has the same orientation as the site. So you can see this is a little bit of an earlier photograph. The site has been cleared of all of the secans and is been stripped. That gives you an indication of the end result relative to what is there currently. Again, a different point, just another look at the site. And then finally, also an orientation that will help us to understand it relative to the orientation of the site plan that I'm about to show you. North is going to be just a little off to the left. There's the north arrow to help orient you. And so I'd like to zoom in on the information that's here on the upper right. This does give us a site plan, and hopefully by the time I've walked you through it, there'll be good clarity. So you can see here, and we'll carry on to the next slide. We have got I3 high-tech industrial warehouse permitted in I3 zoning as per the table that are provided. We've got setbacks that are being honored throughout, so we're not anticipating any variances. The site area goes up here. The combined site area is 12,808 meters squared. Our coverage is to be at 50% maximum. We're coming in with a total of 43.2% combined. Now, I do want to point out that building A is ever so slightly over 52.8. However, the combined total is at 43.2. And so we're well under when we contemplate both sites together. The parking is all as per the sizes. The loading docks, loading areas, there's 16, 6 of them are recessed. Our building area is 5,530 meters squared. You can see the sum total there, the total gross floor area, 6,004 meters squared. The maximum on the lot is to be 20% maximum, and you can see we're at 19.6% of the office space. We've got not mixed use, warehouse. We are requiring 77 parking stalls. We have a total of 84. Mixed industrial would have a deficiency relative to parking. 15 more would be required. So we're working with the warehouse only considerations. Parking is required 3 accessible or required 5 are provided. We have bicycle parking. You can see there we have 2 rack and we have 9 spaces split between them. Parking lighting will be engineered, and we do have care to respond on the landscaping, so that will come yet. Now you'll notice a little section line here that gives us an indication of the building section. I'll draw your attention to the toe of the slope, the berm that's on the end of it, which will require a retaining wall. Section 2, you can see again we have a bit of an anomaly with regards to grade, and that is the purpose of these diagrams. So we've got 4 sections for you there to get an indication. And I'd like to just take a real quick look at this corner of the site. You can see that we are going to have a retaining wall that will allow us to go into the base of the escarpment like that, and that should be very effectively managed. This is the main building floor plan for building A. The interiors are yet to be fully developed as tenancies step to the plate. Main elevation, this is our blue building, if you will. We'll talk about the harbor blue color of it. We've got some charcoal gray, some slate gray. We have this harbor blue for the building. that will be on the facade. This is a excerpt from our rendering that we will show you in a minute. And then a regal gray roof, our garbage enclosure will be as such, and then our chain link fencing will actually have back PVC slats, which will make it look attractive. We have some soffit areas, a timber soffit, creating a good aesthetic appeal, as well as glass and steel awnings, which you can see will appear on the building set, both of them as such. Building B floor plan, and again, section. This building has got a terracotta color. This is a good indication of it. This is a photograph of that product used in another application. And so the second building will have one building harbor blue, the other building in this terracotta. Predominant color of building B, and the glass awnings, which will add a distinct element of elegance to the building. These are the view angles now. So the eye shows the direction that we're looking at the building at, and then all of these respective views in turn, and give you a good indication of the geometry of the building and buildings and how they will look on the site. Our best vantage point will come with this composite. This is a slow fade, so the site as it exists today, and a slow fade brings up the building in situ composited into the site. I'll just maybe do that one more time, because it definitely gives a sense of the form and character of the building in its situation. And then the same is true for this image, which now lets the building emerge where it is, and just for the benefit, because it goes fairly quickly, you can see it there three-dimensionally. So the street frontage, I think, is a good extension of the architecture that's there, just a little bit more contemporary and a little more attractive. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kara. And Kara, if it's okay with you, I'll just click through your slides. We do have 3 slides for you. So go ahead, Kara.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So overall, the planting plan is basic. It's obviously building-oriented site, but overall, the planting plan focuses on the minimum landscape treatment levels for the perimeter of the site where space is available. The minimum landscape treatment level is not proposed along the north property line, where geotechnical constraints will dictate the best solution to the slope interface with the neighboring property. Jared can probably speak to that a little bit more after. If there's any questions. Tree planting is also not permitted over the city-owned storm sewer right-of-way to the northeast of the site. And of course, our landscape variance, where building B is situated directly adjacent to the neighboring buildings to the south, does not have a landscape buffer. To offset these areas, we have proposed dense tree planting at 4.5 and 6 meters on center in all available landscape areas, as you can see on the plan there. With regards to the site, we have provided sidewalks and pedestrian crossings around both buildings. There's staff amenity picnic tables proposed to the northeast behind building A and to the southeast behind building B, out of the way of semi and vehicular traffic. 2 bike racks are located at the front of buildings A and B. 2 benches are proposed on the east side of building A and in the parking island on the northeast corner of building B. Parking lot lighting is also provided and has been designed by the project electrical engineer, who is not here tonight. At the city's request, consideration for additional planted parking islands and outdoor seating adjacent to the main entrances will be made after revisiting the parking layout and excess parking stalls that were discussed earlier. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Kara. And with that, we'll go to Scott Johnson, our civil engineer. So go ahead, Scott.
Great. Thanks. Can you hear me?
Hear you well.
Okay. Yeah, so as far as servicing the site goes, it's fairly straightforward. There's 2 buildings on the sites, but the overall site is kind of considered as one property from a servicing perspective. So as you sort of down in the bottom left corner, which maybe if you want to go back one to the zoomed out one first, down in the bottom corner, the blue there's an existing water service stub that will take a water service off of there and then sub-feed the second building via that. Similar with the sanitary sewer shown in kind of a brown there about halfway up the page. Again, single service to the site, split to service both buildings. And then lastly, storm. Again, there, I think it was mentioned before, there's an existing city storm sewer that runs through the property that services the upstream lands. And then we're going to be installing our own site stormwater system. You can see there's a tank for retention and detention of stormwater before connecting to a new service for this site on the to a sewer on Island Diesel Way. All right, so I think that's about it for servicing. If you want to maybe go, yeah, this guy here. Here you can see we've just shown some sort of general truck movements with that larger 53-foot truck that we kind of mentioned off the top. These are just some sort of typical movements showing that there's flexibility on the site for various maneuvers to get the trucks where they need to go. Showing entering both from Island Diesel Way and exiting onto Island Diesel Way, as well as an alternate access coming off of Bollinger there. It's more straight, but the vehicles can make it either way. When we go to this one here, the last bit, as far as pedestrian access to the site goes, there's not much in the way of sidewalks or anything on Island Diesel Way or Boxwood. It's kind of, there are some disjointed sidewalks, but there isn't anything leading to the property. We have talked with the development engineering, and it's likely that frontage works for this. You can see in gray along the frontage would be a sort of an asphalt multi-use trail along Island Diesel there, sort of behind the existing curb that would then ultimately be connected kind of up to the north and then down to the south towards Boxwood. That's about it for me.
Thank you, Scott. Now we do have a video, Madam Chair. I would like to attempt playing that, if it's acceptable.
Give it a try.
It will. All right. Thank you. And hopefully it doesn't artifact. It gives you an animation. The context is actually accurately depicted as well, and so you can see the adjacent buildings that show up. We basically just modeled them off of the buildings that exist nearby. This is, a sense of what happens internally on the site, but then of course also the frontage that probably was best depicted with the composites. The gray, of course, appears on all of the buildings. And then the raster burgundy color and the blue make them distinctive. You can also get a sense a bit of the soffit, which is wood, which again gives a real softness and warmness to the facade. And I think turns out a fairly good solution relative to the context that exists on site. And again, you can see some of the a little more aged context that's nearby. So with that, I'll turn it back to Jared for a question.
Thanks, Al. Yeah, so I will hand it back to the board, and if you have any questions, I can direct those questions. Thank you.
Great. Okay, if you can stop sharing your screen, then that would be great. And let's see here. Okay, so first to start off with, do any of the panel members have questions to the staff regarding this project? Okay, seeing none. Did I have somebody say yes? No? Okay. Seeing none, perhaps Nathan, you'd like to start off this time?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, team, and Jared particularly. Good to see you again. I haven't seen you for quite a few years. This is a really good project, and thank you. That video animation was extremely helpful. I had a couple questions, and that cleared it up. So well done. A comment, perhaps on the staff comments about your excess parking and maybe reducing it. My thoughts on there that look, if you need parking, you need parking, but is there a way to make the parking more flexible in use in terms of person friendly, people friendly, pavers, whatever. And if you find staff use it in a nice sunny spot, then you make it more permanent. If not, you keep it for parking, you know, and rather than permanently remove the stuff, if you need it, try to make it multi-use conditions. I do like the simplicity of your roof, by the way. For warehouses, this is critical that all slopes in one simple direction. It slopes to the back. There perhaps is an opportunity there for just expression of rainwater. You got a simple line, simple slope that could possibly extend out to the street, toward the street beyond the building, and just a simple animation there. Just to give it some thought. But it's a great building. Well done, you guys. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Nathan. How about you, Ken? Want to comment on this one? Are you asleep? Oops.
I think he is.
Ken? Oh. Well, go ahead. How about Kevin? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to Jared and Al and the team. Very nice presentation. Like what you mentioned in your rationale, we are in desperate need of more industrial properties in our town. It's been, I read it in the paper a couple months ago, the need for it, and hopefully Councillor Eastmer can shine a little bit of light on whether or not there'll be other properties and acquisitions where more properties for this type of project. And I totally agree with your rationale. I support your variances. I don't see, or the landscape buffer variance, I have no issues with that. With respect to siting, I think you did a wonderful job with it, trying to get most of the parking away from the street around the back. Form and character, I think you did really well with the building design. It is very simple, but it is what it is. I think the material choices you've made, especially with adding a standing seam metal roof, is really nice. The street presence, I know staff has concerns about that. I really don't have, maybe a little bit, but I really don't know if that's really an issue, and possibly some transparency. But I think the wall faces are fairly short in width, and so I'm really fine with it, unless somebody else has issues with the transparency. Landscape concept, Kara, I think all things considered, you did a wonderful job. Shining a little bit of light on what was said by Nathan regarding the excess parking stalls, whether or not at the entry coming into, like, the main drive out coming in off the street, have you given any thought? I'm not sure if this is for Kara or for Jared, but eliminating one parking stall, the first parking stalls on each side, and expanding the landscape in that area, because one has the hydro box there, I believe, so you probably won't be able to do anything around that side. But if you did eliminate a parking stall, the closest ones to the street on each side as you drive in, and let Kara work her magic, I think that might help. And you can probably do things, whether there or even on the other side of the fence. A lot of the projects that have been built in there, they'll put large boulders in. They might carve them to show the address, or a feature there on the entranceway might help to draw a little bit more attention to the entry, and then take your attention a little bit away from the long drive aisle. I was going to recommend possibly eliminating parking stalls on the main drive aisle. Obviously, there is no landscape islands there, and it's probably for good reason. With the trucks moving in and out of there, the chance that they might get destroyed would probably happen. So, but at the entranceway, I think there might be opportunity there for you to look at that. And aside from that, I think it's a very nice project. So thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, Kevin. Hillary, why don't you go ahead and segue into you?
Yes to the need for industrial land, and yeah, I think it's definitely something that city plan, our OCP does address, and while some of the fixes are long term, like the rezoning of the sandstone area in South Nanaimo, where there's a lot of light industrial incorporated in that area, it is really good to see a project like this, which takes an underutilized piece of land in a good spot for industrial, and so I'm really happy to see that happening. And I think we do have more pockets like this in Nanaimo that are kind of sitting idle and do have a lot of potential. Yeah, this looks like a nice project to me. I think you have set an interesting bar as far as showing us the video, and yeah, that was really nice to see. So very well done, and thank you for that. And yeah, it looks good to me. I wonder, like, you don't have a tenant in mind for this particular property? But I think that's kind of interesting. You're building what you think they're going to need. But yeah, you have the expertise to kind of know what's going to be in demand. Yeah, I understand what the landscaping makes it a bit tricky. Sorry?
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Yeah, so generally in industrial, you have to build it before they come. And so what we try to do is make the buildings as flexible as possible. And so I know there's comments on the parking. It's tough because with this zoning, if anybody comes with mix and we can't offer parking, then they can't be at this location. So what we try to do is offer that flexibility to allow a tenant to come in and have, whatever they're classified as, we know we can accommodate them. And that's what we try to do. So when we build on spec, we're pretty confident we can actually lease the building.
Well, yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. Warehouse of dreams and all that. So, okay. Yeah, other than that, I think it looks good, and I'll be interested to hear what comments are from the rest of the panel, but I would support the variances in this case.
Thanks, Hillary. Hector.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thanks to the applicant for the project. I kind of agree with some of the Kevin comments. I think I see the point of the owner, or like of trying to offer as much as parking as possible. But honestly, some of the parking, in my mind, doesn't seem to be that useful. If we go to the back of the property in the south and southeast and northeast part of the parking, we have these kind of like corners that honestly I think will be better if they get rid of 2 or 3 parking stalls and increase the landscape area. The same as the entry, as Kevin was mentioning, like close to the PMT area. My other concern that I have is like the walkways. So and again, the video was great because it was so good that it showed a lot of these kind of little things. So we have the sidewalk, and then the sidewalk gets interrupted by the loading bay. So we have the 53-foot trailer blocking the sidewalk. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The other thing that I would like to see more is EV chargers. I think there's like 4 or 5. Honestly, with the goals that the government of Canada has, I think it should be at least double the amount of EV chargers, or even more. So I think those are the things that kind of worries me. In terms of form of character, again, I know those are like warehouses, but I think maybe they can choose different kind of insulated metal panels for each of the buildings, because when you're looking at the video, basically you can see that there's like 1, 2, 3, like 5 different buildings. So it would be interesting if each building has a different palette or a different texture of the insulated panel. So those are my general comments. I don't know if the applicant has some answer or some comments based on what I said.
I can speak to the parking. I think the main, David kind of explained it, and I think there is probably some flexibility to have parking that is maybe more swing space, or is still a hard permeable surface that could be used as amenity space. But if they do have a tenant that comes in that is interested in mixed use as opposed to warehouse spacing, then those could be reverted to parking stalls if you needed to on the site. But that was kind of the main reason that we have a few extra parking stalls, is just the balance from the tenant standpoint. Yeah, I'll let if Al would like to comment on any of the other form and character items that you mentioned, then I'll leave it up to him.
Just on the aesthetics, I think we felt that with the variety of the grays and then the reds and the blues, that there was a fair bit of articulation. Also with the soffit in an actual natural wood, I think that really will look quite attractive. And thought that the scale of the building was sort of similar to the buildings that are nearby. So to fragment it more, it's certainly an option. And if that is a recommendation from the panel, certainly we would pursue it. But we were trying hard to ensure that there was an appropriateness around the form and character.
What about the sidewalk being interrupted by the loading base?
I'll maybe let civil engineer Scott or Jared, if you'd like to comment on the sidewalk and the crossing of the truck relative to that.
I think so. The sidewalks, Scott might have some further comments, but the sidewalks were a staff comment in the initial development permit application phase. They wanted to see the site joined together better. So we did provide a sidewalk in between the two buildings. It is quite difficult to kind of join the buildings or join the units per se together across where there is loading docks, because we wouldn't run them out into the drive aisle and then back down, keeping in mind that it's not always that they're going to be filled with trucks. The trucks come and go, and sometimes the trucks are there in the morning and then not all day, and then back in the afternoon or the evening or things like that, right? So the variability of that might help, but that's, yeah.
We're a little challenged, Hector, because the site doesn't really have a back of house, right? Normally you'll see a front and a back, and the back is the energy side, but we don't have that prerogative on the site. So
yeah, that's actually a very good comment. Like other industrial buildings, sorry, I'm not an expert in industrial buildings, but a lot of Amazon warehouses, they have what is called like I forgot the word for this, but basically you have the big truck coming on one side and then you have the small vans coming on the other side. So basically you have doors on each side, and that's basically what a lot of Amazon warehouses and last mile distribution centers are looking for. Have you guys thought about like that situation?
I can maybe comment on some of that. One of the difficulties with this site is you have that right of way that goes right down the middle. So we weren't able to, some of the initial designs we looked at was more of a typical design where you have the front, where you separate the vehicle parking from the truck loading. In this instance, we were limited by the shape of the site and that right of way that extends right down the middle, unfortunately, because that is, Hector, that's a very good point. The buildings we do is you want to separate the two components. You don't want the vehicle traffic with the truck traffic, but unfortunately, in this case, we had those factors that working against us.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, thanks. I mean, I say my comments, I would say at this point, increase the like EV chargers, because I think that's a good move also from like a business perspective. And yeah, I mean, as always, these projects come with a set of challenges that make, some decisions hard to follow. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Hector. And Jonathan?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for the presentation from the applicants. I found all those animations and visualizations very useful, so thank you for that. Yeah, I agree with the staff comment about landscape islands, so thanks, Kara, for acknowledging that. And the employee amenity areas right now are just picnic tables, but I think it's worth considering also incorporating like a bench or some seating with a back, just for employees taking breaks. It's just more comfortable having a seat with a back. So picnic tables are good, but maybe incorporate some seating with backs as well. And also consider weather protection, like rain protection for employee amenity space too. The fencing along, what was it, Diesel Way, with the chain link with those slats, was there like a privacy concern with that for having the fence not permeable, like visually permeable. I'm just with those vertical slats, it seems like it's kind of blocking all the landscaping, so you can't really see it from coming into the site. And maybe it would be just like for visual, like for safety and stuff, maybe blocking the sight lines with that fence might create issues. So maybe like a more transparent fence would be better unless you've had some.
I actually, the slats, I'm not sure if there's a conversation that I wasn't involved in with regards to slats. I actually just called it as a black chain link fence. So it would be, I wasn't visualizing it being transparent. So I'm not sure if the slats were a direction from staff or if there was a particular reason for it, but I would also, why plant it if you can't see it?
Okay. Yeah. So
probably think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think black chain link would be good here, just visually transparent, and it's industrial, so chain link's okay, and the black looks a lot nicer than the galvanized chain link, so yeah. Overall.
It's an easy change.
Yeah. Overall, the planting all looks good to me. Just with the parking in the south corner where there's that acute angle, I think like if all those stalls were full, the ones kind of in the south corner would be, you kind of wouldn't be able to get out, so maybe just look at that parking again. There's just a few stalls in there that might not work. And then I think my only other comment for the bike parking, right now it's like that style of bike rack where you sort of put your front wheel in, and goes with like the rise of like e-bikes and different types of bikes. Those racks are less versatile, so often those like a row of those inverted U kind of shaped bike racks where each rack has two bikes can be a bit more flexible and a bit more secure because you can kind of lean the bike's side against it and lock both the front and back wheels. So I would suggest looking into a bike parking arrangement with that style of rack, just to better accommodate e-bikes and just more types of bicycles.
Yep, we can do that.
You need more space to do that, so you might lose a parking stall or something to make room for that. But yeah, just something to look into.
May I just make a quick comment on that, Jonathan, and just kind of tell you what we typically do with bikes?
Sure.
We encourage the tenants to have bike storage inside where they can charge up their electrical bikes and it's secured, because those bikes are really, really expensive. So what we've been doing is, part of just general spec, is we have a bike rack inside the tenant space. And then that's where we encourage the tenants to and then we can do a fit out, whether it's a shower or whether it's a locker room, once we know the tenants. But with these e-bikes now, most people now don't feel comfortable unless it's a really secured room. So in our project behind us, we're putting it in the building, in the tenant spaces, just so you know.
Yeah, that's good to know. I still think like for the outdoor, if it's like, short-term parking for customers.
For visitors,
if
it does end up being a mixed use or whatever there be, yeah.
Those other types of racks can just be a bit more versatile, that's all. And more secure. And that's it for my comments. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jonathan. And Ken's had to leave us because his Wi-Fi was giving out on him, so he apologized. So we'll be able to wrap up here. I don't have anything really to add other than I think you've done a great job of trying to, you're basically creating two huge boxes, and I actually like the design. It's simple, but you've given it these little touches like the woods and the very varied shades of the finishes that kind of add lots of interest, so that they also fit color wise and so on into the neighborhood. So I think you've done a great job of doing that. And I think other than what other people have mentioned already, there are I support the other concerns that people have raised. So I think other than that, I think we can wind up and sort of summarize here. Yeah, Jonathan?
I just forgot one comment, just with the variance for the landscape buffer. Yeah, I agree. Like, you don't really need screening along that side of the lot with the tall building, neighbor's building right there. But I guess one other thing to consider is just like, without any landscape area there, if there's like surface water runoff along that sidewalk, like where will it go? So just consider that if there's no soft landscape there for water to drain into.
So how would you phrase that? Is that a recommendation you're wanting to make? Could you?
Yeah, I guess just consider stormwater runoff on the sidewalk where there's no landscape buffer.
On the side, oh, where there's no landscape buffer.
Or yeah, where the landscape buffer variance is, I guess.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, I'm just going to summarize our recommendations. I'm not hearing any objections to the variances from anybody. Okay, so we'll, and the recommendations I've heard is look at ways to expand the amenity space or make a flexible space on the parking lot by adding some permeable paving. I'm just wondering if that would sound okay, Nathan, in terms of the comment you made to start with. Okay, great. And then Kevin also suggested expanding landscape around the entrance by possibly removing 2 of the parking spots on either side of the entrance. We've had a recommendation for more EV chargers. Consider a more varied palette for the exterior of the building. I'm not sure if other people support that or.
Yeah.
No? Okay. Leave that off?
Yeah, you can leave it off. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks,
and then the sidewalk issue. So consider ways to demarcate the sidewalks within the site. Or do we want to say anything at this point? I think the applicant sort of explained some of the problems with that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I was looking at the north building, and the north building, the loading bay is big enough that the truck is not interfering the sidewalk, and then the south building, the loading bay is short. So it's 2 different sizes. Yeah. So obviously I know that the owner wants to use as most as like the 20% of the space to rent that 20%. I don't know. I would leave it to the rest of the panel to decide that.
Yeah. Do you think it would make sense to not have the sidewalk across the front of those loading bays and just not have it there?
Yeah.
No, I think the loading bay needs to be a bit deeper. Like the building A in the north of the property, the loading bay is like 53 feet long, and the loading bay on the building B, the one in the south, is like 30 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Nathan, what did you?
Yeah, just a comment about these loading bays, and just a reminder that this is an industrial building, and essential and integral to industrial buildings are loading bays. And if there's nothing more honest is an expression of a loading bay, and the pedestrian realm around that, the way they drive in is all integrated into the system. I don't see any value in diverting loading bays and people around them. It's just part of the dynamics of the process, and frankly, it's the exciting part of it all. So I think it's great the way it is. Thanks.
Yeah, I will just add to the comment. It's like I used to live in Port Coquitlam. Port Coquitlam is full of warehouses in Vancouver, and a lot of these warehouses I know, and with like smaller tenants, a lot of these small tenants open businesses to the public. It can be like breweries or wineries or like even car park shops. So there's people actually working on this in these parking lots. Again, I know it's not the most pedestrian friendly kind of building, but also, I mean, at the end of the day, if this is not leased to Amazon, you are going to end with like 20 different tenants and people walking through those businesses.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably mostly staff. I think one of the things is that if somebody's going to drive up there to do business, they'll park in front of the place that they're going to go to, and usually wouldn't be wandering around. It's not like a mall where they're going to cross over to go to another store. I wouldn't think so. David, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, we're only going to have 6 tenants at the most on this site, Hector. It's only going to be, I think we're going to have less. So it won't be like, these are going to be bigger bays. We're not going to subdivide it lower than what the minimum bay is. So just as a comment.
No, it's fair. So sorry, I'm just looking more in detail the drawing. So the only reason you make the loading bay different is because of the turning radius of the truck, right? Because I'm looking, why did you guys make two different loading bay sizes? Because like me as an architect, doesn't make any sense until now I was looking at it, like in detail. Anyways, yeah, that now I see why you guys are doing it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. It's sorry, it's like it's hard for me. Like I don't know, it's a kind of thing. It's like if you had to explain it to me, maybe I will not be doing so many questions. But now, just looking at it.
Okay, thanks, Hector. Okay, and then we had some comments about the amenity area. Jonathan, you made some as well to add some weather protection, and I think it was consider something other than picnic tables. Was it? Was that correct?
Well, picnic tables are fine. I just thought like a seating that has a back could be more comfortable depending on what the employee is doing during their break.
Yeah, so consider some weather protection and other seating besides.
Other seating options, yeah.
Other seating options, okay. And you had another comment about the amenity area, I think. The bike racks you were talking about. Yes. So have a different bike rack that can accommodate different types of bikes. Consider the stormwater runoff on the sidewalk where they have the landscape variance. Did I get all the things you mentioned then?
And then I don't know if we need to do one for the fencing because it sounded like Kara was intending it to be transparent. So
yeah, it sounds like she wanted. So you're suggesting a transparent rather than a solid fence.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've come up with 7 recommendations. Okay, I'll just go through them again. So ways to expand the amenity space or flexible space on the parking lot by adding some permeable paving. Consider expanding landscaping around entrance by removing 2 parking spots. Consider adding more EV chargers. Consider in the amenity area, consider adding some weather protection and other sorts of seating other than picnic tables. Consider a different bike rack that can accommodate different types of bikes. Consider stormwater runoff on the sidewalk where the landscaping variance is requested. And consider transparent fencing on the perimeter along Diesel Island Way.
Just the wording on the one about, I think you said permeable paving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it necessarily has to be permeable, just decorative paving maybe for the flexible space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Permeable or decorative. Okay. All right. And support for the variance. So can I have a motion from somebody on the panel to accept the proposal as presented with those 7 recommendations and support for the variances? So Nathan makes the motion, Jonathan seconds, all in favor? Great. Okay. Well, thank you, and thanks to the applicant for coming in and presenting today. Great job.
Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
everybody.
So I don't think we have anything. We don't have anything else on our agenda tonight. So I think we can wind down. So if I can have a motion to adjourn from somebody, Kevin, Jonathan's going to second. Everybody's eager to do that. Okay, great. All in favor? Good. Let's go. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Peyton.